Good morning, welcome to the video. Today I'm going to be talking about my experience on Instagram throughout all of 2024. We're currently in my car because I'm running out of daylight between the morning hours and the evening hours. Winter is approaching Canberra where I live very fast, and with that, of course, the daylight and the sunshine starts to fade away. So we're making do with what we've got, recording on my GoPro and my DJI mic here on my chest. I got a lot of stuff to unpack and I wanted to share this for a bit. I just didn't know the exact format and how I wanted to share it. I tried to record this earlier, but I felt like the way I was speaking felt a bit too scripted, and the topic I'm talking about now, being my experience on Instagram, was definitely not scripted. And with most journeys, things don't go like smoothly. So I thought, hey, look, this format's probably the better way to go. I'll just talk to you, hopefully give you some of my experience and tell you how you could possibly improve your relationship with Instagram and share some of the insights I gained from being quite active on it all throughout 2024. So let's get into it. So I've got my notes here just to keep me somewhat on script and make sure I cover all the points I want to cover. The first thing I want to talk about is, of course, why I did it. And I think this is probably a very pivotal part of this whole journey. The reason why I decided to post more on Instagram was because I figured I had a lot of images and photos just stored on hard drives that would never ever see the light of day. These things were just like permanently stored on the hard drive if I hadn't gone and decided to put them somewhere. What a waste of film, what a waste of time, effort, money for these photos to be taken and then just lay dormant in a hard drive for the rest of eternity. So I figured, hey, let's find a way to get this work out into the world. And the way I did that was through posting on Instagram. So the journey, I started off, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. So I just started at square one, and that was posting photos. I started posting photos. I decided and was trying to figure out whether to do a daily or a every other day kind of schedule to keep myself accountable and like consistently posting these photos and going through my hard drives and editing photos. And taking photos, of course. So I was playing around with a daily upload and found myself settling with a every other day or every third day posts. I found this was the best way for me to not get burnt out with being active and doing this challenge throughout the year. And I found that it was effective and it worked for me, I guess. Throughout the year, I experimented with a good couple of ways to post. So I found out that you could schedule posts within Instagram. So I was bulk uploading at night when I had those midnight motivations. Bulk uploading, scheduling them so that, once again, I'm not burning out. I also found that posts that had like a photo carousel typically gained more interaction. And from that, you'd probably gain some more followers and comments and that sort of thing. So that was a good way to grow the account. I even experimented with Reels and decided to try and jump on some bandwagons that I saw a lot throughout 2023 and 2024 of like people doing BTS shots. So like you'd go up to your scene or your location and you would film a bit of where you are, what you're doing, and then also film you taking a photo. The one that really stood out in my mind was the one I did, and I think it was the first one I did, where I went to Seacliff Bridge over in Wollongong, or near Wollongong. I went there to reclaim a lost photo, did a BTS style reel, and it gained a lot of traction. So that was a really cool insight I gained from creating these little reels. Another insight I gained from now posting more often and attracting more people to my account was through the like counter on the posts that I uploaded. I'd find people who liked stuff similar to what I produced. For example, I would be getting a lot of film photographers like the photos that I'm uploading, because primarily that's what I'm uploading on my photography account on Instagram. A lot of film photographers. I would go into the like count, find their accounts, spam them with likes, give them a comment and a follow, and that was a good way to kind of grow the account if you were looking at that vanity metric that is followers. Of course, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I did want to grow my account with this challenge, and I found that this was a way to do it, although it did feel a bit grimy, so I stopped doing that. And another thing that I wanted to try and unpack while I was on the account and doing this challenge was how to just elevate and make my grid look a bit nicer. Your grid on Instagram, if you're unaware of what that means, is like the layout of your profile. So like when you click on your profile and the thumbnails of images, that's your grid. I wanted to make that look a little bit more cohesive. And the way I decided to settle on doing that was by adding the white borders around my images. Now, there was another hidden benefit that I took away from doing this that I'll touch later, but I really wanted to hammer home that I wanted to make my grid look nice and cohesive, and that would kind of elevate my profile and hopefully get more traction with the account. So after all that, and maybe about halfway through my journey on Instagram, I was starting to realize I was developing a lot of skills, and that's kind of like the meat of this video. I wanted to try and translate and give you the skills that I've learned from posting on Instagram somewhat frequently, so that you don't have to do a whole yearly challenge. So about 6 months into the journey, I was realizing kind of the fruits of this challenge, and the big one, of course, was revisiting old photos. Now, a big realization I had during this year was that sometimes when you're taking photos, they don't just click, they kind of need some time to age. And I found a lot of photos within my hard drives that really just speak to me more now than it did back then. Back then I would have just like brushed it off, or I can't even remember what I did with the photos. Some of the photos I even forgot I took. So revisiting these photos gave me the realization that photos can develop over time, and they can actually fit your style and your taste of photography 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. So it kind of takes a bit of a weight off your shoulders knowing that even if it doesn't really hit right now, it might. And it's a really good emphasis to make sure you store your photos correctly, because you never know, these things might just age perfectly and fit your style 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years from now. Another thing that I gained while I was putting all of these white borders and stuff like that onto Instagram was the skills within Photoshop. I was already sort of proficient with Photoshop, nowhere near as good as some, but enough to get by and get what I needed to do done. I had to use Photoshop to create these white borders initially because I didn't know about the other photo editing software that I now use. I would essentially go on Google, find out what Instagram's aspect ratio was, create a blank canvas for that on Photoshop, put the photo on it, make it look nice, upload it to Google Drive, and then download it onto my phone to upload onto Instagram. I know, it's a lot of work, but doing that, just the exposure and going through the motions on Photoshop, practice is a big thing with skill development, and that's definitely what I was getting in doing this exercise. Practice on Photoshop. Now, I was definitely doing other stuff outside of just cropping stuff. I was like manipulating this and that and changing some tones while I was there, which was nice, but I found the workload to be somewhat discouraging me from doing this work until I found Canva. So if you're not familiar with Canva, it is an online photo editing and graphic design app. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But I discovered Canva, I could use that on my PC, and then because it's browser based, this file was now available just on my phone straight away. So it cut down my workload significantly. I just created a saved mat, like the white bordered perfect aspect ratio for Instagram, do all of my uploading for photos onto that Canva file, and then there you go, they're on my phone, download, put on Instagram. So much quicker, and that was an amazing thing that I picked up from doing this challenge. I never would have found Canva otherwise. And another big thing that I wanted to talk about while I was using Instagram very actively was just the triggers and like how this app actually works. It's designed to keep you on the app. So everything here wants you to be on it. Engagement will keep you there. The small things like notifications, the content that is pushed is tailored to what you like and what you watch more of, so it'll keep you on the app that way. Gaining this insight gave me a bit of knowledge and a bit of a game plan on how to then upload further into the future, but it also gave me that awareness while I was using the app myself of these triggers, and kind of gave me that kick in the right direction and that awareness to get off the app if I've been on it for too long. That was another big skill and takeaway that I got from this. So to wrap up this entire journey and to give you just the big takeaways that I got from doing this whole experiment, I've got 4 points here on my phone. So my first point Instagram is just no longer a photo sharing app. This app is purely dominated by like short form content in Reels and that sort of thing. On the bottom of the app, there's an entire like icon dedicated for Reels to get you straight away onto that scroll. That's just how it is. Now, no photos don't perform, like single photo uploads don't perform as well. There are ways around it. And of course, I am just a guy on the internet talking about my own experience. I could be completely wrong. I don't know the algorithm like the Instagram dudes in their head office do. Yeah, single photos, they don't perform as well. But if you do want to just upload photos, I would recommend doing like photo dumps. So there are lots of them. And trying to tailor the fact that videos and short form content is what is pushed on Instagram. What I mean by this is share your photos in a creative way, like those BTS style photos. I've seen some videos of just like quick cuts of your photos. So if that's your style, try that if you want to grow on Instagram. Excuse my little stutter there. But yeah, tailor your sharing to what platform that you're sharing on is. So for example, short form content on Instagram, maybe some short form content on YouTube, or even long form content, but that's like a completely different topic. Let me know down in the comments if you want me to talk about my experience on YouTube so far. But yeah, tailor your sharing to the app. That's how you're gonna grow. My next point, and after looking at the analytics on these uploads that I was doing, is that content on this app has quite a short lifespan. I found that my uploads only really stayed relevant and kept gaining traction for about 3 days. So within the app, if you've signed up to the professional dashboard, you can see your analytics on your posts. 3 days is when these like views and these, impressions start to taper off, and then the post sort of dies. There's not much evergreen content on Instagram. Evergreen content is stuff that will just keep popping up and is still relevant. Not much of that here. Keep posting if you want to stay in people's feeds. That's how you're going to grow. The third takeaway is my awareness of the algorithm and kind of just knowing the triggers and the hooks that people on this app are using to keep you on the app, watching their content. Me having this realization and now knowing what the trigger is, and like having that little mental switch to be like, oh, that was that thing that I've seen before in another reel. It kind of gives me the ick a bit now. So now I'm starting to get off the app, and I think it's given me a better relationship with the app from posting on the app and understanding it a bit better. Definitely didn't see this coming. I thought this would be something that would just kind of happen to me naturally, where I would get annoyed at the app and just stop. But interacting and being way more active and actually posting onto the app gave me this awareness. And looking at the data analytics gave me this awareness. So that's a really cool takeaway that I didn't expect to get out of this. And I hope that you can start to try and build your own awareness around the little hooks and triggers that these short form and content creators on this app are doing. It might give you a better relationship with the app if you find yourself doom scrolling for way too many hours of the day. And the fourth big key takeaway is revisit those old photos. This being a photography-based channel and me trying to give you all my knowledge and share my experiences to help you become a better photographer in any way I can, this is the big takeaway that I got from doing this Instagram kind of challenge, if you could even call it that, throughout 2024. Revisit the old photos. You might have some gems in there, you might find some absolute diamonds in the rough, and it's kind of expected that you're gonna take maybe 100 photos before you take a really good one. And a sign of a developing photographer, in my opinion, is cutting that 100 photos down to maybe 80 photos and so on and so forth. Of course, it's not a perfect plan, and you can't quite regiment photography as it is an art, but revisit your old photos. There could be some awesome stuff in there, and make sure you store them properly too. That is a very big one too. So revisit those photos, please. You could have some awesome stuff. So that's gonna do it for today. Let me know if you learned a thing or two, and I hope I could help you in this video here. Hopefully you can develop a better relationship with Instagram, and if you are trying to grow, follow some of these steps in this video so that you can skip all the stuff that I had to go through to figure kind of what I needed to do out. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.